So people didn't have the real facts. They didn't know what this case was about. If they had known what this case was about after hearing 8 months of testimony, people would have been outraged. I mean, they would have been marching on Poughkeepsie because of the jury's total disregard for the evidence that came out, which was so overwhelming. I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, this case was such, they should have never even got to trial in the first place. And even if it got to trial, it should have been left out of court. All right? But nobody knew about that. Nobody knew all about the evidence that came out that implicated Mr. Pagonis more than one way in terms of this case. Nobody knew that. So the real problem here is for us to make a real critical analysis of the conditions of our community and to build the kind of infrastructure that will allow us to survive.
Just in closing out on this subject, what role, we're talking about that media, what role did the media play in terms of covering up, distorting the truth, and making it so nobody really knew what was going on?
Yeah, well, you see, first of all, the media was operating in collaboration with government. You know, the other thing people don't know, the FBI was here. Stephen Pagonis wasn't fighting this case by himself. The New York State Attorney General's office was here. They were covering up evidence. A lot of evidence that was critical to this case has never been disclosed. Statements that Stephen Pagonis made early on in the Tawana Brawley matter, which subsequently contradicts other statements, have never been told to this jury or to the general public. Statements that would obviously have incriminated him are still being suppressed. So the media responsibility and job was to work along with FBI agents, work along with the New York State Attorney General's office, work along with other law enforcement officials to give the public a false notion of what really occurred. And the danger of all of this is that for those of us who was here, it began to raise our consciousness as to how easy we could all be manipulated if we are not right there on the scene on any given issue. And secondly, that we must begin to think before we speak. We must have the information in toto before we render a judgment.
I guess most people would think, for what reason would you get the media, the state, the government, all involved in a cover-up of a young 15-year-old girl that was raped and abducted? It's hard for our people to believe that they could live in America, so-called democratic system, and as you have put out, believe that.
Well, it's easy. First of all, Malcolm X was assassinated. He was a black leader, strong. He was assassinated. Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. He was a black leader, strong. You had Meredith down in, Medgar Evers, I'm sorry, down in Mississippi. He was assassinated. I mean, you have a whole score of people who have been assassinated because they have dared to speak the truth. So, first of all, we start with that proposition. It's hard for people to believe that you can be assassinated in America because you stand up for truth and justice. I don't think so. Certainly it shouldn't be hard for people in the religious community to believe that, because why, especially in the Christian community, because why do we give such praise to Jesus Christ, who was assassinated, so to speak, by government in his day, because he rose up against government. So, you know, for those people who are disbelievers, I mean, we're talking about the pagans of this country, because anybody that's sitting here at this broadcast and say, I can't believe that, then we have to really question their ethics and their morality and their sense of history, as well as any memory problems that obviously they may be beset about. Now, on the other level, there are other ways that the government moves on people. Rather than assassinate, create a martyr, they discredit people. You had Maddox, Mason, and Sharpton in the forefront of so many controversial matters in the state of New York, Howard Beach, Bensonhurst, and et cetera. So you discredit. And what you do is you get a case that they get involved in good faith, trying to protect a 15-year-old girl, and they then turn the tables and manipulate the media and the information and the facts so that nobody will believe them, so that the next time the government goes out and shoots somebody in the back, there's nobody to stand up for the family of the victim of that particular instance of police brutality. It's very simple. So the whole role here was to find somebody who is standing up repeatedly on behalf of the downtrodden, on behalf of the oppressed, and eliminate them. That's been going on since the beginning of time. I mean, that was happening in the days of Jesus Christ. I mean, it's always happened. People who have spoken the truth against the powerful interests of that time have always come under attack. There's nothing new here. It's just a matter of people having a sense of history and having a sense of understanding. You can have biblical history, you can have any kind of history you want. It all substantiates that. And I can't imagine anybody who is looking at this broadcast now that find that hard to believe.